Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyofacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, we have a special show for you. I am proud to host Christian McBride, multi-Grammy-winning jazz superstar bass player. We talk about performing at sea and hear about Christian's inaugural charter cruise, Christian McBride's World at Sea, sailing January 20 through 27, 2026. The cruise will be on Celebrity Summit from Fort Lauderdale, stopping at Jamaica and Grand Cayman. Christian McBride is creating a new kind of experience for jazz fans while breaking new ground for artists as he takes on an immersive role on his upcoming cruise, Christian McBride's World at Sea, produced by Signature Cruise Experiences, whom we hosted on the podcast when they were called Jazz Cruises, episode 113. Music cruises have gained in popularity in recent years and gives fans an incredible opportunity to personally engage with their favorite artists, running into them all week long on the ship, at the buffet, the pool, during shore excursions together, seeing concerts in smaller venues than they would on tour. But Christian is in a unique position where he's not simply one of the acts booked on to a festival at sea. Instead, he curated the cruise, building a completely personal environment and atmosphere to share with jazz fans by inviting his friends and peers like Samara Joy, Angelique Kidjo, Lettucey, Jose James, Cecil McLaurin Salvant, and 40 more musicians to join them. Plus, he's a prolific musician in several bands at any given moment, so it's no surprise that his time on the cruise will be no different than on land. He is bringing 3 of his bands on board and will perform with each of them separately. They are called Inside Straight. Second one is Christian McBride Big Band, which has 3 Grammy Awards. The third one is called Ursa Major, plus a special performance with Benny Green and Greg Hutchinson to honor the music of Ray Brown. Christian has performed on over 400 recordings, leads 6 different bands, has been the creative chair for jazz at the Los Angeles Philharmonic, the artistic director for the world-renowned Newport Jazz Festival, curates the James Moody Jazz Festival, and he hosts the popular NPR show Jazz Night in America. Welcome, Christian, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
It was a great honor to be on the Joy of Cruising podcast. Thanks for having me.
Oh, the honor is mine, believe me. First of all, how are you doing?
I feel good. Thank you very much. I hope you feel the same.
Yeah, staying inside. Don't want to walk out in that 90-plus weather already. Where are you at right now?
At the moment, I'm in Aspen, Colorado, so it's pretty mild here, thank goodness. But I've been hearing all of the stories about how nasty and hot and sticky it is back in New York. So I'm glad to be here in the high altitude of Colorado.
All right. Well, I'm calling you from North Carolina, although I happen to be from New York, but I retired here to North Carolina a few years ago. Let me say I am honored to host you on the podcast. Congratulations on your stellar career and the upcoming launch of your new cruise. Before I ask you about that, tell our listeners about yourself, where you're from, where you live, anything you would like to share.
Well, I'm a Philadelphia kid. I was born and raised in Philly. I left Philly right after my high school graduation. I moved to New York City, and I spent most of my adult life there. And I met my wife, the brilliant Melissa Walker, and we moved to Montclair, New Jersey. Well, it's been 21 years now. So yes, but Montclair is right next to New York City. So usually instead of kind of explaining where Montclair is, I just round it off and still say New York City.
Yeah, I spent the bulk of my adult life in Wilmington, Delaware.
Oh, okay.
So I like to tell people I'm kind of a Philly guy because it's
Yeah.
right across the Schuylkill. So provide the listeners an overview of your stellar career. Let me just say the listeners this is the worldwide cruising community, and the listeners know that I like music. So I have had quite a few guests on who perform on cruise ships. So that's sort of the best of both worlds. That's my two passions, music and cruising. So I suspect a fair amount of the audience is not familiar with your career. So provide them an overview.
Well, if you don't mind, that would sound utterly pretentious for me to tell my own career. So I would much rather you do it. What I will say is that I've played bass behind a lot of people over the last 36 years, many of whom are still with us. Some have passed on, but I really have enjoyed playing with a lot of people who I look up to and admire, and many musicians who go on a lot of these cruises. You know, I think the first time I went on the jazz cruise was probably 10 years. Well, no, actually, it was probably 12 years ago. It's been quite some time. And, you know, I can remember seeing people like the late, great Freddie Cole, the late, great Benny Golson, Sweets Edison, all of these great jazz legends who would go on these cruises. And to just be on the high seas with these jazz legends for a week or two, that's some of the greatest fun I could ever have. And after having, now this is just a small microcosm, but just thinking of the talent that gets to perform on these cruises every year. There was the jazz cruise, and then there was once the Blue Note at Sea cruise. There's the contemporary jazz cruise, and now I know there's a Chris Bodie cruise. David Foster has a cruise, and you know those are two people who I've worked with in the past. And let's just say I've had a very wonderful career playing behind a lot of people, and I have a couple of awards.
Oh, you're way too modest, but I've already told the listeners in the intro. Yeah, you have. Well, I think something like 9 Grammys. I think 6 for your bands, and then 3 for other. I know it's something like a crazy number, like 9 Grammys.
Well, it's 9 Grammys total. I can't remember what the ratio is of records of my own versus with other people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now you just alluded to it, but let's say some more about your background of performing on cruise ships. What was the first ship you performed? The first cruise ship performance?
Well, I've been trying to figure that out. I think the first time I went on a cruise of any type was in the mid '90s, and it was a cruise sponsored by WRTI in Philly, and I don't know how many times they did it, maybe once or twice, but it actually went from Philly to Wilmington, and then it came right back. It was like a 4-hour cruise.
Okay.
And so the time that I went, it was me and another group, and that other group was led by this up and coming singer named Melissa Walker, who I wound up marrying.
Did you meet her on that cruise?
Yes, and she did not like me at all. In fact, she kind of yelled at me that night, but that's a longer story. But so yeah, that was my first experience on a cruise, and then a couple of years after that, um, George Wein, uh, the late great George Wein, who was the founder of the Newport Jazz Festival, he started a cruise. They had the Newport Jazz Festival cruise, and I don't think that lasted very long. Um, but I played on that cruise. That just went from New York up to New, at least the one I did. It went from New York to Newport and back. But the first time I met Michael Lazaroff and I played on the jazz cruise, like I said, I think that must have been around 2013 or 2014. I kept one of those 2 years. And he's pretty much had me on the jazz cruise every year, ever since. So it's really been wonderful to get to know Michael and just to see how the cruise culture, because it's definitely a culture, and I've been very privileged to be a part of that for all of these years.
Yeah, some of the listeners may recall Michael Lazaroff. I had him on the show, I guess it's been over a year now. They were called, or his company was called Jazz Cruises at the time. And so I'm trying to get him back to talk about the name change, which is Signature Cruise Experiences. So yeah, trying to talk about the name change, and he's also, since we had him on, he's developed. I've been on the Smooth Jazz Cruise. I'm very familiar with the Jazz Cruise. That was the kind of the grandfather or grandmother, since it was his mom, the grandmother of them all.
Yes.
But now he has branched out into some branded cruise. You mentioned, Body at Sea, and now we have your cruise coming up, Christian McBride's World at Sea. I think he has. Well, you know more than I do. He's got a couple of other. Gregory Porter has one.
Yeah. Gregory Porter and Marcus Miller are doing that together, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's like doubled his cruise output in the last year or so.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah. So
Cranking them out.
So yeah, if you talk to him in the next few days, tell him I've been trying to get a hold of him.
We'll be right back.
Do you have a dream car? Mine is the Lucid Air. Are you intrigued by electric vehicles? The Lucid Air EV has been called the best driving car in the world. And the Lucid Air Sapphire is certifiably the fastest production car in the world. Listen to Lucid Driver Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts or at luciddriver.buzzsprout.com. On those first cruises you mentioned, WRTI and then the Newport Jazz one, and then you finally, got started on the jazz cruise. Before those cruises, had you cruised at all?
No. The first time I ever got on any sort of boat of any kind was that WRTI cruise. Well, I mean, maybe I got on like the Staten Island ferry or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, the first time I ever got on a cruise ship to perform, it was on that WRTI cruise in 1997 or whatever that was. Yeah, 97.
So that was just a few hours. So when you started cruising on like Michael's cruises, the long,
Right.
Spending a week at sea, what was that like for you, having never done that?
I feel like I was a little worried at how I was going to feel being at sea for a week. And then eventually I wound up playing the jazz cruise and the Blue Note at Sea cruise back to back. So then I wound up being at sea for 2 weeks. And I look at somebody like Marcus Miller, who was doing the jazz cruise, the Blue Note at Sea cruise, the contemporary jazz cruise, the smooth jazz cruise. So he would be at sea for like a month, and I'm like, bro, how do you do that? And but it was not. I'm happy to say that I didn't really have any particular issues. I had nothing but a whole lot of fun, and I worried. Well, I shouldn't say worried, but like I wondered how that worked, where you're kind of on a cruise ship and there's no sort of buffer between you and the fans, because like you like to have a little bit of a space or your own when you have to perform. But I feel that people are really, really cool, man. People are really cool that come on these cruises. They treat you like a neighbor, you know.
Yeah, I've written a couple of books on cruising, and my last one was after the smooth jazz cruise. So I have a photo of with smooth jazz guitarist Peter White in the buffet, with stars of jazz. I got a photo. I got on the elevator, and Michael McDonald was coming out, and so we stopped him and
Sure.
took some photos. Yeah, it's real on those cruises, at least the ones that Michael Lazaroff produces. There's very little break between the performers and the passengers.
Right, right. Well, I remember years ago, the late great George Duke showed me a photo of, I guess it was a funk cruise, and he showed me a video of him. I believe it was Marcus Miller and George Clinton, and I remember at the time being like, George Clinton goes on a cruise? What? And he said, yeah, man, George Clinton was on the funk cruise and he was just hanging out and come up and jam and sit in with people. I went, wow, like that was so beyond me that somebody like George Clinton would go cruising and just, and be chill like that, So that also gave me a really good feeling about being at sea for a week. I'm like, well, if people didn't, I asked George Duke, I said, well, man, George Clinton is such a legend. I mean, like, did people like mob him? And he's like, no, not really. I mean, people would take pictures with him and, tell him how much they loved him, but it wasn't like, wasn't like they didn't leave him alone.
Yeah, on theme cruises, he's just kind of, I'm overstating this, but he's just kind of another guy. I mean, I've been on
the guys, right?
Yeah, I've been on a number of theme cruises, and that's kind of the way it is. I remember when I went on a smooth jazz cruise, and I had just started this podcast. So, and I ran into Vincent Gallo, and he was just standing there, kind of jamming to the music, and I just walked up to him and started a conversation. And turns out, I think he's on the third episode of this podcast. Now we're up to like almost 200 episodes, and he was really taking a chance because he didn't know me from the next guy, it could have been, a real crappy podcast. Well, I'm not judging the quality of the podcast, but all I can say is that was episode 3, and we're still here. So
there you go.
So when not performing, I'm talking about on board, how do you spend your time? Do you get into the cruise life, or you kind of just practice or stay in your room? I mean,
I do what my wife tells me to do.
So she joins you on the cruises? Does she perform?
Absolutely. She's not going to miss any of these cruises.
Does she perform on any of them?
My wife, she doesn't perform necessarily. She'll come up and jam, but she's definitely going to be one of the featured performers on my cruise next year.
Great. By the way, listeners, you can read all about Christian, in lots of places, but there's a big thing on Wikipedia. You similarly can read about it's Melissa, right?
Yep, Melissa Walker.
You can read about Melissa Walker because she has quite a lot of information in her own right. So, yeah, that's good to hear that she's going to perform on the cruise.
Yeah, I'm excited, and so is she.
Well, let's talk about the cruise. Give us all the details.
Yeah, it's called McBride's World at Sea, and it will be from January 20th through the 27th, uh, or January 20th to the 27th, and Celebrity Summit. And it will leave out of Fort Lauderdale, and we go to Grand Cayman, and we go to Jamaica. But you know what I always tell people is that, you know, on these theme cruises, particularly with all of the great musicians that we have, from Samara Joy to Lettucey to Cecile McLaurin-Salvant to Angelique Kidjo to Jose James to the legendary comedian George Wallace, Alonzo Bowden, the other great comedian, and all of my working bands, my big band, my quintet Ursa Major, the Remembering Ray Brown Trio with Benny Green on piano and Gregory Hutchinson on drums, my longtime quintet Inside Straight. With those kinds of musicians on board, who cares where we're going?
I hear you. Yeah, the ports are kind of on charter cruises. The ports are kind of afterthoughts.
Right.
Although I have run into my share of performers at the ports.
Oh well, listen. If I'm probably not going to have much downtime on my cruise, but if I do, I can guarantee you Melissa's going to have me out there doing something.
In addition to shopping and all of that.
Band tour or something.
Mm-hmm. Now,
all of that.
Let me just ask this question, sort of first things first. Is there availability still on the cruise?
Yes, there's a little of availability left. Please get some of these last remaining cabins and jump on it. Let's make this maybe a sellout. Please make me look good, and in turn, I will give you the best week of music and entertainment and fun that you've had in a long time.
So do a commercial. Tell my listeners how they can get tickets, because most of them are used to calling up a travel agent, and that's not this kind of cruise. So tell us what we need to do.
If you want to have a direct line right to what's happening, you go to McBride'sWorldAtSea.com. McBride'sWorldAtSea.com. And you will see all of the information there. And I really believe that when you see all of the musicians that are coming on board, who I have personally selected to play and make you feel good, you're not going to want to miss this.
I don't want to scoop the cruise, no spoilers, but I would hope Christian McBride is going to jam with some of these other guest artists.
Oh, well, of course. Initially,
there you go.
Everybody had it in mind, like, oh man, it'd be great if you played with Lettucey, it'd be great if you played with Cecile, and it'd be great if you played with Jose. And I was like, whoa. I'm only one man. I can't play all 7 shows every night for 7 days, and then play my own shows. So, but yes, I am going to do some jamming with a lot of the other artists.
Give us a preview, besides great music, of what we can expect on Christian McBride's World at Sea.
When I had my first initial conversations with Michael Lazaroff about the planning for McBride's World at Sea, we wondered, what is it? What's it going to be? Like, what's the general feeling, the vibe? Is there a theme? And so what we wanted to do is bring you an experience that would be what I like to think of as a combination of all of the jazz cruises that you have seen. It's going to be a combination of the jazz cruise. It's going to be a little bit of what used to be the Blue Note at Sea cruise, the contemporary jazz cruise, the Chris Bodie cruise, the smooth jazz cruise. You're going to get the best of each of those cruises on my cruise. And not to mention, I think what will separate my cruise from some of the other ones is the presence of not just one, but two comedic legends. I mentioned Alonzo Bowden is going to be there. He's been like the official jazz cruise comedian and host for so many years. But bringing the legendary George Wallace on my cruise, he's one of those kind of people you laugh at before he starts saying anything. And, we thought about having him just set up a booth so he could do a bunch of Yo Mama jokes. So, it's going to be swinging. It's going to be funky. It's going to be funny. And there's going to be a whole lot of other types of deep, deep music on this cruise, but all wrapped up in an experience of fun.
And my guess is it's going to be similar to the model of, again, my experience with Michael's cruises, Smooth Jazz Cruise. They had, besides performances in the main theater, there were jam sessions everywhere around the pool. They converted the main dining room at night into a little jazz club.
Yeah, there's always jam sessions,
lounges, all kind of stuff.
We actually have what's called a passenger jam session. So any people who come on the cruise who moonlight as musicians, there's a place for you too.
Oh, that's going to be nice. Now, I have not seen that on any of the theme cruises I've been on.
Oh, yeah.
That should be nice.
They had that on the jazz cruise, and I think that's a really brilliant idea. But, we'll have like the passenger jam. We'll have game show night. We'll have formal night. I'm probably going to institute a blackjack and poker tournament. That's one of the things I like to do in my very sparse free time.
We'll be right back.
Join me, Rails Eve, as I promote African tourism with my podcast, Keep Traveling Your African Vacation. I interview a diverse array of role players across the African tourism industry, giving you great insight into magnificent opportunities, hidden gems, and of course the wildlife. Learn firsthand from tourism artisans as to why you should spend your time and energy at their property. Every week, my show's guests offer great prize giveaways of free nights or complimentary activities that any lucky listener can win. Tune in now and keep traveling your African vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be just music. It's going to be a little bit of all kinds of fun stuff.
Let's talk a little bit about what's next. Is this cruise, I know it's going to be great, and I hope it's going to be a sellout. So is this the first of a series?
I surely hope so, brother. In my hopes and long-term planning, this will be something that can go on for years to come. But the only way it will be able to happen that way is if people come.
Sure. Are you scheduled on any of the other, again, I call them jazz cruises, but I know the signature cruise events in next year's season?
No, I'm only doing mine next season, and I'm going to put all my focus into this, and bringing people on board for this, and making this the best experience that I can make for everyone who's coming.
All right. Well, all the best for your cruise. Just you have beyond the cruise. Do you have any plans to tour anywhere that my audience might
I'm
get
always
to see
on
you?
I'm always on the road. If you go to ChristianMcBride.com, you can see all my gigs for the rest of the year and some of next year as well.
Oh, great. Well, Christian, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to stop by, but we're not going to let you go yet because,
All right.
we normally ask our guests a couple of light or fun cruise questions. Well, superstar jazz artists like to have fun too. So you get the same questions. When not making music, how do you spend your me time?
On the cruise or off the cruise?
No, in general.
Oh, in general, like I said, I don't really get a chance to have a lot of downtime, but when I do, I'm either going to a sporting event, watching Law and Order marathons on TV, or playing my PlayStation 5.
Okay. Now, sports. Who do you like?
I'm a Philly guy. I haven't lived there in years, but my heart is still with the hometown. So I'm Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, and Flyers all the way.
So you're in your glory still after the Super Bowl.
You know it.
I had she's an R&B singer, Carol Riddick from Philadelphia.
Yeah, I know Carol.
Carol, I had her on the show, and it was right after the Super Bowl, and you know how they say EAGLES. I did that, except I spelled the Eagles wrong. For the whole world to hear, although I did cut it out. I kept her reaction in, but I cut out me spelling Eagles wrong.
It's okay. The mayor of Philadelphia misspelled Eagles too. So
I remember that. Yes. Okay. Next question. Now this is specific to cruising. What's your favorite cruise drink and cruise food?
I'm a martini man, so I'm just like 007. I do a Kettle One martini straight up with a twist.
So none of those, espresso, none of those fancy or alternate martinis.
Oh, no. I'm straight up and down, baby.
What do you like to eat on a cruise?
Whatever is edible. I eat entirely too much, probably off the cruise, but certainly on the cruise. It's just that kitchen is the devil, man. It's just you just have all that good food available to you at all times. It's like it's hard to show restraint.
Who said anything about restraint?
My body does.
So there's no one food that's your cruise ship go-to?
Not really.
No?
I
Okay.
try to eat a little bit of all of it.
Now, I always ask this question only of world travelers, and I suspect you are one. What's the most exotic food you've tried in your travels?
Exotic food. I've had lots of exotic food through my career. I remember being in Japan, which is somewhere a lot of jazz musicians go often, but there was a specific delicacy of puffer fish. And I remember someone saying, if you don't eat that the right way, it could poison you and kill you. And I said, well, why are people eating this? If you make the wrong move, and then you could risk your actual life. I was with Joshua Redman that night, and I said, "Man, ain't no way in the world I'm going to try to touch that, man." And Joshua was like, "I'll try it." And so
Get out.
I just remember me and a couple other friends. We watched him and held up, and we were just like, "Man, Joshua, you better not die here at the sushi bar in Tokyo." Yeah.
I've had a guest on who tried it, and I'm like, okay.
Oh no, man! I'm not trying to die for no food thrills.
Yep. What's your most memorable, funniest, or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
That's a very good question. I think my wife just walked in.
Hello, how you doing?
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. That's my wife, Melissa.
Hi there.
Of course, they can't see her because this is an audio podcast, but
Okay.
I can wave at her. How you doing, Melissa?
Very Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, embarrassing or memorable. I mean, there's so many. I can't think of too many embarrassing moments. I can remember one time we got off the cruise for a just to kind of go shopping and go touring around, and there was a bunch of us. It was like 8 of us. One of whom is one of the managers of the jazz cruise. His name is Lee Mergner. He does a lot of the PR for all of the jazz cruises. So he's very important to the cruise. And somehow we didn't get the memo that they had moved the departure time up a half an hour. And so we're up there, we were supposed to leave at 9:30, and we somehow missed the memo that it was 9. And you can't play on a cruise,
right?
They if you late, And so it got to be around 8:45, and we say, hey, we better not. We should get back there early. So we get back to the port around 8:55, and we see the officers there. They're like, come on, hurry up. And we're like, what do you mean hurry up? It's like, we're leaving in 5 minutes. We're like, what do you mean 5 minutes? And so I cringed to think that we almost missed our departure time.
Yeah, that would have been pretty bad. So
folks, pay attention. When you get off that cruise on port day, make sure you ask someone, one of those people when you get off, just double check the departure time.
Finally, Christian, what's your favorite overall performing at sea story?
When I invited my father to come up on stage and jam with me.
Oh, wow.
So
what does he play?
He plays bass.
I should have known.
And so, my dad doesn't travel a whole lot anymore. And so I got him to come on the jazz cruise with me last year, 2024. And I had a day where, it was like the Christian McBride All-Star Jam day. And it was a really great day. So I said, hey, Dad, why don't you come up and play? And so, bringing my dad up on stage, that was a lot of fun.
Great. Sounds wonderful. Christian, best wishes to you on your first branded cruise. I know you're excited. I hope that, we get you a couple of signups.
Yes, thank you.
And help get this sold out, so that, because I'm going to pencil you in for about this time next year when you're promoting Christian McBride at Sea number 2.
Oh, my man, that's what I'm talking about.
So yes, good luck, all the best to you with your cruise and with the rest of your amazing career. As I like to say, we will see you on the ocean.
There you go. We'll see you on the ocean.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99, can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.